Delver gets to go first.
Ooh, that's actually a big deal.
I know, it's huge. It's probably the deck that benefits most from this, we'd said. Delver 17 wins and 2 draws so far, this deck is, between 2 pilots. I'm going to pick it.
All right.
It's on the play. It's not a bad matchup for Delver. Delver likes playing against combo decks.
The only reason I like it, I think it is kind of like favorable for Delver, but I like it more because it's on the play, the thing that you mentioned the most. Yeah. So Fabiano, you see he's ready. He's going to play a Tundra and a Delver Secrets, and we are underway here in the semis.
So like I said, for the Storm player, this is the most terrifying start, because once Gerard flips his Delver, he's not going to cast anything else, which means he can use his mana to mess with your Storm.
So Rill's going to sack a Pluto Delta. He's going to go down to 19, and we'll see what land he's going to search on, what his first turn of action is going to be.
All right, so what Rill will hope for here, you can kind of try to go for a fast combo. Things usually an additional card is like the additional cards are like, so say you wait a turn, right? Gerard will draw a card and Eric Rill will draw a card. Usually that interaction is better for the Delver player than it is for the Storm player, because Gerard will get to do things like he'll get to like these disruption spells, like Spell Pierce, usually take more than 1 card for the Storm deck to get through. Because of that, Eric's going to probably try to Storm off as soon as possible, as soon as he thinks it's, reasonable to do so.
You see he's going to search up a basic land here. He's going to play Cabal Therapy. So he's going to go aiming in the dark here with one of the best discard spells of all time.
So he knows that there's Force of Wills possibly in Gerard's deck. He also knows that there are Dazes possibly in Gerard's deck. It looks like we'll see what he hits here. There is not much disruption in Gerard's hand, actually. It appears that Gerard kept a hand with that Delver. In addition to it, he kept, Vendilion Click, Geist of St. Traft, Batterskull, and Ponder.
The name with the Cabal Therapy was Forcible. Obviously, he missed, but this looks like a
crazy keep.
Yeah, this looks like a bit of a sketcher. This is hope my top card flips the Delver, and hope my Ponder ends up pretty good here.
It's already a mulligan. Batterskull's not a card in the matchup.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, the spells that you're looking for, as Gerard does not actually find an instant for the Delver of Secrets. He has 4 Dazes, 2 Spell Pierce, 4 Stifle, huge in this matchup, 3 Force of Wills as well. So those are the spells that he does have in this matchup. But his blue-white Delver Blade deck is like a little bit different because it does have more creatures than you would actually think. Lava Mancer, Stoneforge Mystic, only a couple of Geist of St. Traps, 2 of those, and then those 4 Delver of Secrets. But he's got the equipment package with Batterskull and Umezawa.
Right, so maybe I can say Batterskull's not a card in the matchup. How about Batterskull that wasn't searched up by Stoneforge Mystic is not a card in the matchup? That's a more accurate way to say it.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Like, you can't actually pay 5 for it. That's like, it might as well cost 20. You're beating Eldrazi.
There's no time. As Delver Secret's going to come in for 1. You see how Gerard wants to end up with that Ponder. He's going to play a Misty Rainforest and pass the turn back. Rill draws a Tropical Island for the turn, so we'll see how he wants to go about doing his second turn. One thing we are going to see, Matthias, and you probably know this because you play Storm as well, Rill going to definitely be a little bit deliberate in his turns. Wants to make sure he doesn't get any of the math wrong.
Right. I mean, so he knows it's unlikely. Well, Gerard got to Ponder, so maybe he found the 1 hate card. It's like pretty reasonable that Gerard has a Daze, a Pierce, or a Force of Will at this point. But we know that if Rill waits 1 more turn, he's going to get V-clipped. Yep. That can be pretty bad. So he may just try to go off this turn, if it seems at all possible for him to do so.
It doesn't look like he's going to go off immediately. Maybe a Ponder will help mitigate that. You're going to see a Cabal Ritual, a Lion's Eye Diamond, and something else there for Rill. He's going to consult his hand, which does have a Lion's Eye Diamond. It has a Brainstorm in it as well, so gonna need a little help, it looks like.
Yeah, it's his second LED, so all he really needs to find now is the Ad Nauseam or an Infernal Tutor, and that should be, with a pair of LEDs, that'll let him set up the combo. He doesn't really need any more mana at that point. He may want to find some disruption again, but really, he's kind of shooting in the dark as to what he's trying to find in disruption. He doesn't have much disruption that can target Vendilion Click, for example.
He's going to take a pretty good long time resolving his Ponder. Wants to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes. These cantrips in this deck, the Ponders, the Brainstorms, the Preordains, those types of cards, it's very important that you do get them right and set them up correctly. He's going to take a Cabal Ritual to his hand. Will Rill, is he going to keep moving here? Because he does have a Lotus Petal as well.
So he has a Petal, 2 LEDs, so I would keep going if I think I could get there. So that's spell number 2, Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah, remember, with the kind of combo he may be going for here, it may be really relevant how many, it may be a count to 10 combo, And it's actually, he's not going for it yet this turn, it looks like.
So Delver of Secrets is going to flip into Insight Tile Aberration. You see Gerard reveals a Brainstorm. Is he going to take it? He is. He could have sacrificed the fetch land to get a new card, but do you really want to go past a
When
Brainstorm?
you have an uncracked fetch land, Brainstorm's a pretty nice card.
Yeah.
It'll let him get rid of that Batterskull and turn it into something that's actually a card now.
You see in Fabiano's hand, he does have a Force of Will now. He actually found one off of that Ponder. He's going to pass the turn back, leave mana available because we know he has a Vendilion Click. Rill knows that as well because of that Cabal Therapy on turn 1 as Rill draws a land here now.
Yeah, Rill wants to draw the land here, it looks like. I don't believe I think he is still on the top of his deck from that last Ponder. Yeah,
yep.
He had to crack the fetch line for the blue for the Ponder. So that was a known draw for him.
Yeah, he could have chosen to shuffle away. He chose not to, which means he's going to start his turn with a Brainstorm. First card he's going to know.
Yep.
But the next two are going to be a mystery. So a Brainstorm among them. You see him slide them right into his hand here.
Yeah, he does have a fetch line in his hand. He has a Flooded Strand.
Yes.
So he can go ahead and reset the deck after putting 2 back. The Force of Will is unknown to Rill. It wouldn't be too surprising, you know, that he knows there was a Ponder, so if there's a good card in the top 3 of them, you know.
There's a Ponder and there's a Brainstorm being,
right.
You know, it hasn't been cast yet, but that can get you a little bit deeper too, and that can also get a Fabiano to a Daze or a Spell Piercing or those other cards as well. So a lot of those cards are live now, and Rill has to be cautious of that.
Yeah, and I think this is what he says when I said that the best card in the matchup for Gerard is that Delver of Secrets. We're seeing why that Gerard has a decently fast clock on and now can really just be the counter spell back.
He can play people call it, the best example is counter slivers. You know, you get a couple bodies in play and then you just counter the rest of the spells and the clock is fast enough to get the job done.
Right, so counter Delver here, I suppose you could say.
So Rill's going to play that Flooded Strand. He can sacrifice that to clear away from the Brainstorm. You see, he's doing some math right now. It's not the first time we've seen this. Certainly won't be the last time that a Storm player is going to do some math. He's going to sacrifice the Flooded Strand, hoping that does resolve. It's going to.
Remember, there are stifles, so it's a fair question.
That card fantastic in this matchup as well. Not the end-all, be-all, but it's certainly a good one.
Well, I mean, it makes it much harder to go off because they can always stifle the Storm trigger.
Yep. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you know, assuming this match does continue on for a little longer, maybe we play 3 games here, stifling some fetch lands here. Again, the Storm deck doesn't have a ton of lands in it. It does have Lotus Petals that are kind of replacing lands as a one-shot. Rill, taking a look at how many lands he does have, 15.
Yeah, when you so I want to talk a second about stifle against the Storm trigger. Some people say, oh, well, you can't win if they stifle the Storm trigger. It depends on what kind of combo you're going for. If you're going for like a count to 10 combo where you don't have very much extra mana and you're just trying to tendrils them, that can be a really great play. Oftentimes, if you're going for an ad nauseum combo where you have a lot of extra mana and you're drawing a bunch of cards, you're making like 10 black, you're past inflamesing, it's not a big issue. You know, they stifle your 1 tendrils, you say, okay, you flashback past in flames, you play a million duresses, then you just play the tendrils again.
Yeah, you can just get the job done that way. Thanks a lot, Past in Flames, for being in existence, making things a little bit easier for a Storm player. As we have a quick result for you guys. It's not over just yet.
No, not a surprising one.
But Jonathan Karpaska, as you predicted, with Death and Taxes up a game against Dustin Taylor, because why not? Death and Taxes can't be stopped.
Deck has no bad matchups. Just beats everything.
All right, Matthias, I think it might be go time. Dark Ritual signifies that pedal to the metal.
You usually don't cast Dark Ritual on anything but the turn when you're comboing off.
And what this signifies, too, is that he is not scared of that Vendilion Click over there. That's a surprising thing to me. Now here's a Cabal Ritual. I believe it might be with Threshold. There's a lot of that's with Threshold. There's a lot of cards in that graveyard.
Right, so that 3 black will turn into 6 black. It's 3 spells now this turn.
Fabiano is going to sacrifice both of his fetch lands in response. Misty Rainforest are going to turn into some dual lands. There's Volcanic Island, and there's a Tundra. And is he going to respond from Vendilion Click here, or is he going to go Force of Willing? Not quite sure just yet.
He had a couple choices here. He had the first option is to he can use all his mana for Vendilion Click and say his disruption is Vendilion Click and Force of Will. Not a bad place to be. He also had the option, however, of brainstorming there, hoping to hit even more things. Maybe Stifle and Spell Pierce, and maybe even have 3 pieces of disruption.
So in comes a Vendilion Click in response to Cabal Ritual. Now, Matthias, do you feel like this is the proper time to respond with a Vendilion Click? Because you really have to pick your spot here, and it's always really difficult to do.
Well, I think you want to pick it now. It's a very good question. Okay. he has a Force of Will, so it changes the equation a little bit. You know, I would say if he didn't have the Force of Will, he has to do it now, as now Eric has enough mana to cast an Ad Nauseam. If he gets the Ad Nauseam off, doesn't matter. Vendilion Click's not a card. It seems like a good spot to do it. He's gotten 2 cards, which I think is probably like, that's a fair amount of cards. You know, he's gotten 2 cards out of his hand, 2 rituals already. What you want to do with the Vendilion Click is, you know, you're disrupting his combo, and remember, the Storm player always has the option of just stopping and starting again next turn. But you want to make sure that if they do that, they're going to pay the price in a large number of the cards in their hand. So he's made, you know, he's already paid the Dark Ritual and the Cabal Ritual. It's like Eric Rill's like pretty deep into the pot, you could say. He can't really fold it at this point.
You see the dice on the screen right there. The 5 is going to represent the number of spells cast this turn. The 1 is going to represent the number of mana. We just have 1 black mana floating. Cabal Ritual, if it were to resolve, would make it so that Rill will be up to 6 black mana.
Right, so yeah, there is no... Gerard is doing this with the Cabal Ritual on the stack.
So now Brainstorm response is going to resolve. Gerard not going to forcible. You see a Ponder and an Infernal Tutor. And I think that's a Past in Flames, but I could be wrong.
The Past in Flames was already in his hand, it looks like.
Okay.
So what it seems like Eric is trying to do, what he's going to try to set up here, is a hand where he gets Infernal Tutor and Cabal and Past in Flames in his hand. Or he's going to try to take LED and sack it, discarding them all. Then using the red mana from LED, flashback his hand, make all his black mana, recast that Infernal Tutor that he discarded, then find Tendrils for the win.
That's what he's going to attempt to do.
Right, that's the plan.
Yes.
That's the plan. There's the problem here in that right now he's hidden the Past in Flames on top of his deck because he needs that in order for this to work. He's going to hopefully ponder into it again.
You see Gerard's face right here as well, trying to read through this plan. All right, what are you up to? You're going to show me Infernal Tutor when I've been Vendilion Click on the stack and resolving? Really? Does that mean that you put something on top? You want me to put the Infernal Tutor on the bottom?
That's the funny part. So yeah, he's hoping that Gerard puts that. I think he's just hoping that Gerard puts it in his hand for him, puts the Past in Flames.
Yeah, because, you know, the flip side of this is, let's say Gerard just says, okay, keep him. That's fine. Now, Lotus Petal comes in, maybe he casts the Ponder, and then does he cast the Infernal Tutor, or what route would he go?
Well,
let's say the Past in Flames never goes. These are just the 3 cards that Rill has to work with.
So I go Lotus Petal, so I play Lotus Petal Ponder, right?
Okay.
Okay, and he has to work with these? Well, there's a couple of issues right now. First of all being that what'll happen is he'll draw the Past in Flames. He will then cast the Infernal Tutor with it on the stack, sack the LED to make a bunch of red mana, and now we have the question, are you countering the Infernal Tutor? Because if you do, there's enough red mana to flashback the Past in Flames, we still get off the combo.
Okay. Okay.
If you don't, well then I just got the Demonic Tutor. I bet I can find something fairly relevant there. For example, I could even Demonic Tutor for duress you, take your Force of Will, flashback Past in Flames, combo you.
This is why I don't play Storm.
Storm's awesome.
I didn't say it wasn't awesome, it's hard. This is why I don't play Storm, it's hard.
So if he, I do feel here, if he can't leave Eric, so by that logic there, he can't actually leave these 3 cards in Eric's hand. If he does, I believe Eric has the win.
I believe you're correct, and if you're Fabiano, it's a decision that's difficult to make, because now he's considering, all right, what if I counter this Cabal Ritual?
So did he did not take anything,
Nope.
right? So he's going to counter the Cabal Ritual.
So now we're going to go up to spell number 6, 1 black mana floating.
And this counterspell I do like.
I like that counterspell a lot too.
Right.
But now Rill can play a Lotus Petal. He has 1 black mana floating. He can play a Lotus Petal, which will give him a 2nd mana. And then he has the LED, so he has access to 5 mana total this turn, is that correct?
Well, yeah, so what do you
In a roundabout way.
Okay, so he can play Lotus Petal for the 2nd mana, he could cast the Tutor, but if he casts the Tutor here, then he would shuffle his deck and not have the Past in Flames. So he really doesn't want to shuffle his deck right now, because there is still a Past in Flames on top of his deck. I'm not positive. Let's see what Eric decide to go with here.
You're not positive, Stormmaster?
Well,
huh?
I'm still working it through for a second. You know, I'm kind of in the same spot as Eric is. All right, so go for a couple different lights here. You can ponder, use your Lotus Petal and ponder. Go ahead and take the Past in Flames.
What does that do for you? Doesn't seem like much.
Gerard pitched the Geist of Saint Trap to the Force of Will.
He does. I mean, he doesn't need the
That
Geist
card's
of Saint
not
Trap
on a card
anymore.
in the matchup.
He's going to finish. He's going to finish off the game with these 2 cards, the Vendilion Click and the Insectile Aberration. That's his plan. And Rill might have just been completely busted He might just been stopped with that Forcible and that Vendilion Click.
Yeah, it doesn't take too much to combo off here. All you really need to do is get that Past in Flames to resolve with at least 1 black mana up. Once you get there, you're great.
Oh, that's so easy.
Yeah, no, it's not always that easy. A good counterspell there on the Cabal Ritual. I don't know if Rill has a line for it yet.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does.
Yep, he lets the mana go, he lets the spells go, he moves the dice, he passes the turn back to Fabiano, so a great force of will there, figuring out what Rill's up to. Also not taking a card there with the Vendilion Click. Also a really nice play there by Gerard, is now he's going to start his turn off with a Brainstorm. Going to get a little bit deeper into his deck, figure out how he wants to navigate, take Rill from 13-0, hopefully for Gerard, in 2 turns and not 3.
Yeah, well, I think the best part about not taking the card with him, Vendilion Click, is Gerard figured out if he didn't take anything and he went ahead and Force of Willed the Cabal Ritual, he had perfect information to work with. I think he knows that the combo, it's possibly figures out that the combo is just not there.
Looks like Rill was trying to set a trap. Gerard saw through it. A crafty attempt by Rill there. Maybe it works on a different player, but does not work on Fabiano. Fabiano going to finish resolving this Brainstorm. Probably going to put the Batter Skull back.
He redrew the Batter Skull. He shuffled it away once already. That Brainstorm hit at least a Batter Skull and a Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, yuck.
Yeah, not great.
Figure out what he wants to put back here. Probably going to be Swords and Batter Skull. You see him reaching for them. Now it looks like he's going to reaching for a land. That's Scalding Tarn there. But it looks like Swords and Batter Skull are going to go back. Batter Skull on the bottom, Swords on top, in for 3 and make it 6. Going to put Rill down to 7.
Right, he does have the fetch land to reset the top of his deck, so next turn he'll get to have something else.
Yep. So he does play that Scalding Tarn and pass the turn back. Mr. Rill, you have to start all over. You're going to draw your Past in Flames. You tried to set Fabiano up, it did not work. There's a Lotus Petal to start the turn.
Alright, so we're at spell number 1. Rill's going to have to try to combo off this turn. He knows he's going to go to 1 next turn, and he also knows that Gerard's deck plays Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I think you have to go for it on this turn. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, it's either, you mean, go for it's like pretty relative because you either have it or you don't. I think what he wants to try to do here is ponder into a ritual of any sort if he doesn't actually have enough mana. What he wants to do, so he right now has access to 4 mana, well, 7 mana basically. He can use 2 of it to cast Infernal Tutor and then sack LED and use 5 to flash back the Past in Flames, but unfortunately then he's out of mana. And remember, he needs 1 mana to start up that mana chain from the graveyard. So if he ponders into any ritual, that will win. And he probably knows that, but then the question is there a line he's missing? You know, is that what he has to do, or is there something else he can do?
All right, so Rill is going to start by tapping an island and a swamp, and it's an Infernal Tutor.
All right.
On the stack, going to break the LED for the mana.
Yeah, he can, yeah, so I think what he's going to do here, actually, is one thing he can do is he can Infernal Tutor. So I said he would be out of mana, right? And he wouldn't be able to cast, we got off Infernal Tutor, but he actually doesn't need a mana to start the chain. He can start the chain off another Lion's Eye Diamond instead of starting it off a Dark Ritual.
Oh my goodness.
So right now, he has exactly 5 mana, which is enough to flash back his Past in Flames. If he now Infernal Tutors, or as I like to say, Demonic Tutors, for a Lion's Eye Diamond, that will give him the mana of any color that he needs to restart the mana chain.
And he immediately grabs one from the bottom of the deck and puts it into his hand. So he realizes that this is the best line to make here to give him some more mana. You think maybe he goes for like a higher impact spell, like an Ad Nauseam or something like that? Nope, all he needs is an LED.
Well, he already has the win. The Past in Flames is in the graveyard. Because remember, all he needs to do is, once he flashes back Past in Flames, even though he right now will have no black mana to play, blue mana to use. Yeah, well actually, he will actually have blue mana to use. He can use the 3 mana he made off the first LED and the 3 mana he used off the second LED to flash back his Past in Flames. So we'll actually have a couple different colors to work with. He can flash back all his black rituals, and then he'll have blue mana to flash back some of his cantrips, restock his hand, and he should be able to get there this turn.
So Rill does bust that Lion's Eye Diamond. He's going to add some more mana to his mana pool. Now you're going to see the Past in Flames. Does Fabiano have a counterspell? I don't think so. If he's reading this, it doesn't feel like he has a counterspell. He did just get done brainstorming, of course.
All right, so Past in Flames, that mythic rare from Innistrad, a one of in the deck, but a very key one of. The key being of how it interacts with Lion's Eye Diamond is you can play it out of the graveyard. So it's another way to use Lion's Eye Diamond mana which is, you know, kind of a trick in and of itself.
So here's a Dark Ritual from the graveyard. Now Cabal Ritual with Threshold. So down to 1, up a little bit more. And he's going to have a bunch of mana here. We're going to keep track of the spells because he's going to have basically all the mana that he wants now. Fabiano can't really stop that.
Well, he really has all the mana and pretty much all the spells he wants. We're already at 6 spells here, I believe, if the top die is correct. He needs to get to 8 spells to win. It seems really unlikely that he's not going to get to that.
Looks like he's going to come off here with a Ponder. Is that how he wants to start things? Because can he afford to have a card go to his hand where he needs Inferno Tuner to be Hellbent?
Yeah, so he wants to make sure he doesn't draw a card. You know, that Infernal Tutor needs to find the tendrils. And if he gets a card in his hand, then the Infernal Tutor does not find the tendrils.
Because spell 6, he's at 6 spells right now, so Infernal Tutor would be spell number 7, and then tendrils would be spell number 8, so he needs one more spell that won't put a card in his hand. I think that Cabal Therapy will do just fine. This is probably a good spell to lead off with. Make sure the coast is clear. I wonder what he wants to name with this.
Well, let's see. What are the cards in his deck that gets him? Stifle's good. Force of Will is good.
Also, it looks like he's down to... And if that die is correct, it looks like he's down to 4 black mana. If that's correct. And with a Lotus Petal, it would be 5. I believe he may have missed a black mana. Okay.
Yeah, so...
Because that's what it felt like to me, too.
I feel like he has more mana as well.
Yeah, I think he has 5. That's what I thought.
Right.
Because he had one black floating, he cast Dark Ritual, that puts him up to 3. 3 minus 2 for Cabal Ritual, Threshold is going to put him up to 5.
Puts him up to 6. It
Yeah,
adds
puts him up to
5.
6. Yep, okay, gotcha. So we are correct now, he has 5 black mana floating.
Yeah, a pretty big difference there, too.
And now we've got Cabal Therapy attempting to name Stifle.
It's a fair name here. Both Stifle and Force of Will?
It hit. It hits a Stifle. So now Infernal Tutor is going to happen with 3 mana floating. Lotus Petal is going to make it 4. There's your Tendrils of Agony. And Gerard's going to count the spells, figure out exactly what's going to happen. Sees the Swords to Plowshares, and the Swords is going to keep him alive.
Well, he swords the Vendilion Click. Oh no, sorry, no, right, for 3. So he started for 3.
Yeah, power,
it's
toughness.
power.
Yeah.
So he goes to 20. This is only going to be a Tendrils for 18.
Assuming, okay, so now things can get interesting now, right? Because if he does that Swords with the Storm Trigger on the stack, does the Swords add to it or not?
No.
The answer is no. Okay, because the Storm Trigger,
Storm counts the moment you cast it.
Okay.
So I think Eric had missed that there could have possibly been a Swords to Plowshares. There was a more aggressive, if he realizes there's Swords to Plowshares there, so he kind of has an option. He can do this, which does not play around Swords. What he could do, and it looks like does he have an extra mana in that Lotus Petal?
The Lotus Petal is necessary. He had 3 black mana floating, and the Lotus Petal will be mana number 4 to actually cast the Tendrils of Agony.
So what he could have done was use the Lotus Petal to make a blue once he had the Tendrils in his hand,
to
cast Ponder, hope to find a Lotus Petal or a Ritual to get that 1 extra Storm to ensure it being lethal. However, I'm not sure you want to do that because if that whiffs and there's no Swords in Gerard's hand, then you just cost yourself the game.
Yep. Wow. Storm is a tough deck to keep up with, my friends. With all the floating mana and the spells and everything else. But Rill is going to concede the game due to that Swords of Plowshares. And you see Gerard Fabiano take a bit of a deep breath here saying, I'm a little surprised I got out of that one alive. So Fabiano up a game over Rill playing ad nauseum. We're going to bring it back to the booth. We're going to analyze the sideboards for you guys in just a moment. But it is trivia time. I promise I'm not going to ask you a question about Storm because that's way too hard and I can't keep up with that. Cedric Phillips, Matthias Hunt, trivia time. Very simple. Get your Twitters ready. Hashtag SCG Premium at the ready. Going to ask you a question. 6 months of premium will be given away. We'll be giving away at the end of the semifinals. Make sure, again, your answer does have the hashtag SCG Premium. It's about accuracy, not speed. We'll give it away at the end, I promise. If you want to Google it, it's late. I'm over it. It's no big deal. Here's your question. in Gerard Fabiano's deck. He has 4 copies of a card that happens to be quite good against Storm. He's got some cards that are kind of bad against Storm, like Umezawa's Jite and Batterskull, but he has a 1-mana instant that happens to be fairly good against the Storm trigger. If you were watching the last game, they went bye-bye via Cabal Therapy. If you can name that card, hashtag your answer, SCG Premium. And again, it is about accuracy, not speed, and we will name our winner at the conclusion of the semifinals. As we're going to move on to the sideboards, my friend, you get the Storm decklist because I don't have any idea what I'm doing there. And you tell me what you would board in if you were playing against Gerard right now.
So, playing against Gerard's deck, there are not too many things you need to board into in this. You know, the main deck is mostly what it's about here. It really depends on if he knows anything about Gerard's deck. He knows, I believe they get to see each other's deck list.
Yes, they
correct?
do. Okay,
so then we get to look at Gerard's deck. We see Meddling Mage. That could be a big problem. All right, so you're going to have to board in your Chain of Vapors. At least 1, probably 2. To be fair, Chain of Vapor comes in most matchups because you assume that somebody has some permanent that might do something mean to your deck. Okay. And the only way you can deal with it is going to be Chain of Vapor. Outside of that, he could use Dark Confidant as well. He may believe that if Gerard's going to board out all his creature removal, Dark Confidant becomes a pretty powerful weapon. At the same time, he doesn't get too many turns off Dark Confidant. I'm not sure I'd want to do too much outside of the Chain of Vapors in the board.
All right. We'll take a look at Fabiano's sideboard. Outside of those, Meddling Mages does have a Sword of Feast and Famine, 2 Red Elemental Blasts, an additional Force of Will to bump it up to 4 after sideboard, 2 copies of Flusterstorm, certainly at home in this matchup, a Source of Plowshares, an Engineer Explosives, a Wear and Tear, a Surgical Extraction, a Rest in Peace, a Relic of Progenitus, and a Submerge. I see a lot of options there. Flusterstorm's an easy one. Meddling Mage probably an easy one as well, along with that Forcible. But how about some graveyard hate? Surgical Extraction, Rest in Peace, Relic of Progenitus. Are you scared of those? We just saw Rill try to win via Past in Flames. Should Fabiano board those in?
Fabiano should board almost all of them in because he has so many cards that are actually not cards in this matchup. Geist of St. Traft is, I believe, to be uncastable in this matchup. I don't really want to see Gerard ever tap out for 3. It's way too much of an opening. We saw him barely be able to cast Vendilion Click. I know that Geist is a great clock, but really it's about Delver in this matchup. It's about Delver and maybe that Stoneforge into Batterskull. He wants to get one of those cheap clocks down early and then really not tap out.
Okay. I mean, I think the cards that he can board out here, you mentioned Geist, you mentioned Grim Lavamancer, of course, that one's going to go as well. So that's going to be 2, that's going to be 4.
I like the 3 swords.
Yeah, I think the 3 swords is going to be, even though that swords was game winning, I still don't think it's good in the matchup. I think that's a corner case scenario.
I mean, you played Healing Salve.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a corner case scenario. So we're looking at 7. Lightning bolts, do you like having those in?
They might be decent. They do give you, Lava Spike's actually fine in the matchup because you do want to kill him quickly. There's an 8th card that he can ditch, which is Umezawa's Jite.
Okay.
Really all you care about Stoneforge doing is you need a clock. It's going to get Batterskull every time. The second one doesn't matter because you're not going to play it.
So it looks like by my count, Meddling Mage is 2. We'll say Force of Will is 3. Flusterstorms are 5. 6, 7, and 8 cards are going to come in. So with 8 cards coming in, we got Grim Lavamancer and Geist moving out. That's going to be 4. 3 swords is going to be 7. And then the Umezawa Jite is going to be 8. So hey, there's your easy 8. That's a pretty clean swap, actually, as we do have a quick update for you guys.
Yes, not the unsurprising update.
You called it.
Yep. The winner of this matchup will be facing off against Jonathan Karpaska in the finals, playing Death and Taxes.
Can't be stopped.
Easy 2 over Deathblade.
Yeah, and like lightning quick fashion too. Actually, Deathblade is a deck that actually takes a while. Karpaska was playing at a pretty deliberate pace. When he was playing against Chiho Yim. Yeah, that was easy. That was done. Death and Taxes, on to the finals.
Just has all the answers for everything in the metagame. It's probably really good against Storm. It's really good against the unfair decks, against like Storm. It's probably going to be really good against the fair decks like Delver Blade.
Do you hate Kithkin this much?
No, I just don't like it because I don't understand it. I don't get why Devin does.
It can do everything.
Right, but makes no sense.
Matthias, the Legacy crowd is disliking you right now. They
Yeah,
are
I know.
very firm
Yeah, I'm sure.
about
I'm sure.
their
but
death and
doesn't-
tax
yeah,
decks. It's
great.
MTG Matthias. Is that
Yeah,
the
yes,
Twitter
you can
handle?
send your hate at me
Attack.
and tell me all about why Death and Taxes is just the best deck in Legacy.
You
and
don't
why
need
I
that-
should just be playing it.
You don't need the hashtag or SCG
Yeah.
Premium for this attack. Just add MTG Matthias for these attacks.
I don't
for the
get it. It's
Death
like
and Taxes
it's
fans.
8-0 or something this weekend. Whenever we've had it on camera or something, it's
Can't
just,
stop, won't stop.
no, it's just wins. So we're gonna start game 2. I know a lot of times, especially when you're a Storm player, one of the things that you do after losing a game as close as game 1 is you kind of start to think back. Okay, I stormed for 9. Could have I stormed for 10? I want to, and you might even go back to that turn where he found the Lion's Eye Diamond and he played Lion's Eye Diamond out. He was playing that out to try to like get it out there so that it wouldn't be countered because it was integral to his strategy. The question then is you have to wonder, all right, was that more correct as opposed to storming 1 more on the turn I was comboing off? Yeah. There are all these kinds of questions. Just like, obviously it would have been better the other way this game, but still, was it correct?
So Eric Rill's going to fire off a Call Ball Therapy to start the show, and he's going to name. Does not look like a hit, but we take a look at Gerard's hand here. All right, double Spell Pierce, a Ponder, a Stifle, a Flusterstorm, and 2 lands. So the only thing that's missing here is a Delver of Secrets, as Rill did name Force of Will. And he sees a Nightmare hand here from Fabiano.
Well, yeah, you could say this is a little more hateful of a deck post-board.
Yeah, just a touch. Just a touch. This is a much better keep this go around than what we saw in game number 1 as well. And Fabiano was able to take that one down. So I can't imagine he's going to have much difficulty with this one, but we'll see.
Well, if Eric Rill has another Cabal Therapy, Gerard's probably going to have to counter it, because otherwise it will get 2 Spell Pierces.
Gerard draws a Brainstorm for the turn, which means that he doesn't have to tap out to cast a Ponder this turn for manipulation. He can just leave Brainstorm up, but as a result, leave up Flusterstorm and leave up Spell Pierce, as Rill's going to sacrifice that Flooded Strand. Is it time to stifle Gerard? I think it is. I think it is. It is. All right, so stifling that Flooded Strand. That's it for Rill's turn. So Fabiano going to draw his card. Oh boy, draws a Meddling Mage, Matthias.
Oh wow! So yet another. Okay. A lot of cards that are pretty good in this matchup right now for Gerard. Certainly it's harder for Eric to navigate this minefield right now.
Meddling Mage is pretty tough, right? Because it does the 2 things that you want to do. It's a disruption element, and it does provide you with a clock. It's the best of both worlds. But Gerard Fabiano is not going to cast it just yet. My question for you, and this always happens with Meddling Mage or a card like Pithing Needle, Phyrexian Revoker, what do you name?
Tendrils.
Just every time?
Well, I wouldn't see a reason why not to name Tendrils.
Okay.
The first one that's the only way the deck wins. He doesn't have Grape Shots. He's not playing the Burning Wish Grape Shot engine or empty or anything like that.
Sure.
So yeah, Eric has to cast Tendrils to win, right? So the first Meddling Mage names Tendrils, and the second Meddling Mage names Chain of Vapor, and then you win the game.
All right. Assuming that Eric didn't bring in Abrupt Decay, as he does have 3 in his sideboard. I don't think they're great in this matchup, but Desperate Times could call for desperate measures, as a Brainstorm here for Fabiano reveals a couple of cards, among them Red Elemental Blast, a card I don't think we thought he was going to bring in.
Yeah, well, it's not bad to bring in. You can hit a Ponder with it. There are things you can hit with it. It depends whether you like it more or less than a Lightning Bolt. I think it's like a pretty close call, actually.
Okay. So Fabiano's going to finish resolving that Brainstorm. He's going to sacrifice his fetch land, make it a perfect Brainstorm, allow Rill to shuffle his deck. And he's going to untap. We'll draw a card. Just has to find a clock. Another Red Elemental Blast off the top.
He has so many answers right now in his hand, but he has no clock.
Yeah, here's a Ponder. Hit 1, 2, and 3. See if Fabiano wants to keep it or send it back. Another Meddling Mage here.
So, remember that double Meddling Mage I was talking about? If he gets 2 mages down on Tendrils and on Chain of Vapor, I do not believe Eric has a way to win.
There's a Wasteland. Fabiano going to pass the turn back. Going to waste in the upkeep. I like this play a lot. Don't want to do it on your turn. If he's going to use some mana, make him use it on his turn. He's not going to. Draws a Lotus Petal, does Rill.
So, actually, if he does know, they have full access to deck lists.
Yep.
So, you were saying he could have boarded in Abrupt Decays.
Yep.
So, what Gerard might do, or could do, is play Meddling Mage, first one on Tendrils, second one on Abrupt Decay, and then just now the only spell he ever has to fight over is Chain of Vapor.
Yeah, and he conveniently has 2 Red Elemental Blasts to do that. Here's a Spell Pierce from Fabiano targeting a Lion's Eye Diamond. Is Rill trying to... Oh, no.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Rill needs to be doing. There's so much hate.
Oh, no. Double Dark Ritual into the Ad Nauseam drawn for Rill. You count the Storm count, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Ad Nauseam, and then 5 for Spell Pierce. And look at Fabiano. Duress. Let's start counting the life.
All right, the Lion's Eye Diamond was a beautifully played ruse here. You know, normally you can't let the Lion's Eye Diamond happen because it's so much mana. It turns out though, nope, he had the Double Dark Ritual Ad Nauseam hand. He got Gerard to use his counter spell on the Lion's Eye Diamond, smiled and went to town with Ad Nauseam.
So now Rill's going to go down to 13. Let's say minus 2 more, down to 11. A little more. And remember, has not played a land yet this turn. Infernal Tutor's going to make it 9. Consult the hand.
So it depends if he has a way to make his hand empty yet. If he does, he has like, say, another LED in his hand, he can stop now.
I think he's sandbagging another LED. I think his hand right now is LED Lotus Petal.
Okay, if his hand is LED Lotus Petal, I believe he can stop at this point. He can keep going a little bit. He has more, more life points to work with.
7.
So the second Infernal Tutor, at the very least, if you start making mana instead of the Cabal Ritual in your hand, you can use the Infernal Tutor to find a Cabal Ritual and just, up your Storm count. I don't think Storm count's too much of a concern at this point.
Nor do I. I think he's perfectly fine with the Storm count. We're currently at 5, 2 Dark Rituals, a Lion's Eye Diamond, that's Spell Pierce, and an Ad Nauseam. So Storm count's not going to be much of an issue at all. And Fabiano is tapped out. Can't cast any of those Spell Pierces, none of those Fluster Storms. The best he can do is a Forcible right now, and if he had one, he would have Forcible the Ad Nauseam.
What he's missing right now is mana. Remember, he needs to play Rituals. He needs 6 mana to go for the Infernal Tutor and the Tendrils. So he's going to, right now he has no mana as he just cast the Ad Nauseam. He's going to have to start the chain somewhere. He's going to have to make sure he has enough mana to do this, but if he does, he should be in business.
Flooded Strand, Lotus Petal going to be the 6th spell. Lion's Eye Diamond going to be the 7th spell. Rill going to sacrifice the Flooded Strand, go down to 6, get a land out of his deck. A beautifully played game here by Eric, where he saw that hand from Fabiano, knew he was under duress, and looks like he's going to come out through this one, as he's going to pass that deck over to Fabiano in just a moment. Again, 7 spells, no mana floating, does have Infernal Tutor in his hand, also has a Cabal Ritual. That's what he's going to cast. That's going to put his mana up to 5, spell number 8.
All right, so now he's at 8. What he's going to most likely do here is he's going to use that 5 black mana to cast an Infernal Tutor, put it on the stack, sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond. Well, sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond, get Past in Flames, cast Past in Flames, recast Rituals, recast Infernal Tutor, find Tendrils.
Does he need to go that route of getting Past in Flames and all those other cards? Is that the safest way to go about doing it? Is that what you're saying right now? Like, he needs to do that? Because he's got the spell count at 9, and then the Tendrils would actually be spell number 10, which would make the Tendrils for 20.
Okay, so he actually does have enough lands where he can just go ahead and grab the Tendrils at this point?
Okay.
Yep,
he's going the
Past
in Flames way. He's about to move the deck as you are. Going through this route instead, where I think he could go grab the Tendrils and just do the hurrah and try to kill him that way, but he's going to play it super safe. He's going to flashback, or he's going to actually hard cast Tendrils of Agony. So now he's going to shuffle through the yard. Dark Ritual. Up we go. And of course the important thing here, just like last game with Ice, is just don't add a card to your hand, so that your Infernal Tutor can be a Demonic Tutor and get the job done. So another Dark Ritual, 12 spells, bunch of mana. He can keep chaining off rituals. He could also even cast a Duress if he wants to. Cabal Ritual, going to add some more mana to the mana pool, up to 9, spell number 13. Duress is going to allow him to see Fabiano's hand, get some information. Does Gerard want to show him? He's going to show him that he has Red Elemental Blast.
Well, they know deck lists.
They do know deck lists, but a Red Elemental Blast is a card that we thought he would bring in.
Right.
So that little touch of information could end up mattering.
Yeah, you can expect the Meddling Mages. You can expect Fluster Storm.
Yeah. So now here comes your Infernal Tutor. I think I'll make it a Demonic Tutor, says Rill. Gonna shuffle through my deck. Gonna play Tentral's Vagony, and that's it. So Eric Rill, through the face of double Spell Pierce, Brainstorm, Meddling Mages, Red Elemental Blast, and Flusterstorm, wins game number 2. And we're moving on to a third and final game here to find out who's gonna be playing against both Death and Taxes in the finals.
So a beautifully, I think, baited spell there from Eric Rill with that first Lion's Eye Diamond. Now, let's say in a world where Gerard doesn't spell pierce a Lion's Eye Diamond, you know, does Eric have anything to go off? And I think it could go either way. I don't know if he ever actually had an Infernal Tutor in his hand, but he does get to play 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds at that point if say Gerard doesn't spell pierce there, and that's a lot of mana for him to go off with, though it's not an immediate route to comboing off.
The thing I love about Storm, and even though it's a deck that I'm incapable of playing correctly, I wish I was good at it, it would take me probably a month long of practice, is that if you're well versed in Storm, you get such an edge in tournaments. A player like Bryant Cook, a player like Adam Prozac, a player like Eric Rill, where you can get people to do exactly what Rill did in that game, which is play a Lion's Eye Diamond, get it spell pierced, and then kill your opponent. You know all the iterations of your deck, you know how much mana you can generate. As a lot of people say, it's just a giant math problem, and then you just have to work your way through these counter spells that oftentimes make you pay more mana. So that's exactly what I love about Storm, is that if you are well versed in this deck, you gain huge percentage points, because this is a deck that when you're sitting down with your friends and you're saying, hey man, you want to play some Legacy? Yeah, you want to test the Storm matchup?
This will make them never want to play Legacy again.
Yeah, no one's sitting there saying, yeah, I'll play Delver, you play Storm, let's test. That's not a thing that happens. You're going to see like, hey, I'll play Shardless Bug, you play Esper Deathblade. People will do that until the cows come home. No one's going to go, hey, you want to test the Storm here?
They'll be like,
that doesn't happen.
Like, hey, you want to play against Storm? They're like, okay, and they'll just like put their deck on the table, and then they'll walk away and they'll be like, all right, let's test. Go for it.
Yeah.
Have fun.
You know what certainly doesn't happen? Hey, do you want to test a Storm here after sideboard? Do you want to test against Storm after sideboard? Absolutely not. I have no interest in doing that. So for a player like Prozac, who we've seen had a lot of success with Storm, Brian Cook had a lot of success with Storm, Rill, you see him in the semifinals here. If you know how to pilot this deck well, you're going to do very, very well in Legacy. It's just learning it. The learning curve is so high.
Yeah,
for a strategy like this.
You have to be willing to lose a lot of tournaments with the deck, or at least lose a lot of playtest games.
And I lost a lot of Magic Online matches and I didn't want to lose anymore, so I switched back to Goblins. I couldn't take it. I don't handle losing well, Matthias. I don't.
All right, so we're on to the third game here. Fabiano gets to be back on the play. We saw he has no shortage of hate cards in this matchup, but what actually is the hard part for him is getting them all onto, like, getting enough mana to play all of them and getting them onto the battlefield.
And getting a clock out in front of them, like we saw in game 1. You get that Delver of Secrets established, then your hate cards become even better because Rill can't dilly-dally around, you know, brainstorming, pondering, preordaining, all that other nonsense. And now here is a Delver of Secrets, much like game number 1 to start the show for Fabiano.
I still think Delver is the best card in the matchup for the Delver deck.
I do too.
It's, you know, he needs a clock, and this means he has one.
This is the actual perfect clock in the matchup. Even better than a card like Nimble Mongoose, because Nimble Mongoose, there's some assembly required. Delver, it takes very, very little, just a top card of the deck. You can set it up with Brainstorm or Ponder to make sure that it does happen, and then you can get Rill dead while leaving up your counter spell, so you don't have to flinch very much. As Rill is going to sacrifice a polluted Delta, going to search out a basic land. One thing I've been noticing Rill's doing as well has been searching out basic lands with his fetch lands so that he doesn't turn on Wasteland.
Remember the deck has 15 lands in it? A lot of your openers have, usually on average, they have 2 lands in them. A Wasteland's really bad.
Yep. So here's a Ponder, so a little bit of manipulation to get game number 3 started.
So Ponder's asking if the Ponder resolves. Slight nod.
Yeah, that's okay. Underground Sea, Infernal Tutor, and I believe Cabal Therapy are the cards that Rill will be looking at here for his Ponder.
It's really hard to anticipate what he's going to do here. It all depends on the kind of route he wants to take with his hand. You know, his hand usually either has the combo in it or has the disruption in it, and it's looking for the other half.
Rill is happy with his Ponder, so he's going to take the top card and pass the turn back. Fabiano, no flip yet.
Nope, but it's just a matter of time. And it doesn't matter too much whether it flips early or not. What's important with the Delver is that he got it down so early.
Yeah.
And if you're Fabiano, there's an interesting choice here. You can either pass a turn, or you can slam a turn 2 Meddling Mage right now and hope that Rill just doesn't have an ad nauseum hand. Gerard's going to go for the counter magic then. I would say the safe play, but I'm not sure it's more safe. It's just the more reactive play.
Yeah, because then you have to pick and choose on what to counter and what's important. We saw Fabiano be incorrect with the Spell Pierce. Take care of that Lion's Eye Diamond. Rill says, yeah, that's exactly what I want you to do. Dark Ritual ad nauseum. See you later.
Well, that's why this matchup is, why having like a well-educated Storm Pilot is such an advantage here, is because in order to correctly play Spell Pierces against Storm, you have to be able to know the Storm lines and like know which one you're playing against. And that's really a lot to ask an opponent. I mean, they have to prepare for other matchups.
Yep. Cabal Therapy is going to show up here. We'll find out what it's naming. You see a hand of Flusterstorm, Stifle, Geist of Saint Traft, Daze, and a land.
So that wasn't a Metal Mage, it was a Geist of Saint Traft. I'm a little surprised that Gerard has kept Geist in this matchup. I just don't see him ever having the time to cast it.
Okay. So now a Ponder is the card that is turned over here for Fabiano. So now Delver is flipped and he does have some manipulation.
The therapy named Brainstorm, by the way,
Okay.
in that situation. Gerard didn't have any.
That's a touch surprising.
I mean, almost just the peak aspect of Cabal Therapy is almost just as important, like almost worth the entire card.
You see Fabiano is just considering, do I want to draw this Ponder? Do I want to shuffle it away and draw a mystery card? He's going to take the Ponder with the Delver. He's going to get in with Insectile Aberration, and then he's going to move on from there. You see him. This is a difficult spot to be in for the entire time. He's going to Ponder because you never know when Rill's decided, all right, critical mass achieved, let's go.
Right.
You know, is it this coming turn where I want all my mana available, or is it the next turn? Can I get a Ponder in here, not die, and then keep all my mana up, or do I have to do it for the rest of the game?
So Gerard on the Ponder. The thing is, Gerard doesn't know what he's playing around yet. That information that Rill got from the Cabal Therapy is really important.
It's never fun walking on eggshells. That's what it feels like to play against Storm. One misstep and you can just die, and that's exactly what happened to Fabiano the last game with the Spell Pierce on the Lion's Eye Diamond. So he's going to tread very, very carefully. Thankfully for him, this game he has a Delver of Secrets out there that's flipped into an Insectile Aberration, so he can give the beatdowns.
Right. So a pretty long Ponder for Fabiano here. You know, he kind of has to decide what weapons he wants in the dark against Eric Rill's hand. You know, kind of thinking lands are important because lands give him the ability to continue to be proactive while still leaving up mana. At the same time, you know, having the right spells is also important. So it's this really delicate balance of applying pressure while still being able to react.
You know, if I'm in Gerard's situation right now, ignoring the 3 cards that he's looking at Ponder because we can't quite make out what those are, but I feel like I have the necessary draw to win. You know, I have a Delver of Secrets that's flipped. I have a Flusterstorm and some other counter magic that's cheap. I have the cards necessary to actually win this game. I just have to make sure that I use them right.
Yeah, so Flusterstorm's a really good weapon in that, you know, Eric Rill probably has to duress it before going off. I don't think Gerard's going to tap out with a Flusterstorm in hand again after last game.
No, that is not a thing that will occur.
You know, it's hard. You don't want to see someone storm you while you have a Flusterstorm in hand.
Fabiano going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn. Going to search up a Volcanic Island. Is it maybe Meddling Mage time perhaps? Don't know.
Tapping out is dangerous, but at the same, yeah, it depends. So I don't think tapping out's very good here for anything.
Tapping out for Meddling Mage seems the safest to me if you're going to tap out for anything. Like tapping out for Geist of Saint Traft is a big no-no. Tapping out for Meddling Mage and Intentional Agony feels okay to me.
Maybe, but with most of the Storm wins, they can, if they take an extra turn, they can find, I mean, especially with the ad nauseum ways, they can find a way to get off a second Infernal Tutor. I mean, I'm sure he has 1 Chain of Vapor in the deck at this point, so I think the first Meddling Mage is a little bit of a trap. I mean, if you still have lands up, I think it's fine, and I think it's actually a good way to keep putting on pressure, but you want to, I think you want to be careful about tapping out really for anything.
Polluted Delta Sacrifice going to go get a Tropical Island for Rill. That's how he's going to start his turn. The question is it go time?
He does have an LED. He does have a Carpet of Flowers.
So we'll get the Urza Saga uncommon enchantment on the screen. it's this kind of weird enchantment. Gerard gonna take a look-ski, so's the judge. It says, during your main phase, you may add up to X mana of one color of your mana pool, or X is the number of islands target opponent controls. It says during your main phase, but you can pick which one that you want to add for the Carpet of Flowers. It can be main phase 1 or main phase 2, but you only get to pick one of them.
And it's at the beginning of the main phase, I believe. It triggers now, I believe, at the beginning of the main phase, as opposed to just like
correct.
you choosing some time, like, hey, I want it now. No, it's at the beginning of one of your 2 main phases.
Yeah. You counter my spell? I guess I'll take all that mana now. Pay for that mana leak. Wait,
Yeah.
what? You can't do that.
It's my main phase. What are you talking about?
So here is a brainstorm from Rill to follow up after the Carpet of Flowers.
Yeah, so what you kind of said, it's almost a ritual in its own right, because you can play it during main phase 1 and it's already online during main phase 2 of the turn you play it.
Here's a red elemental blast on the brainstorm. We thought we may see that from Fabiano. It's just there to counter those cantrips. That could be a back-breaking red elemental blast. Rill may have needed that brainstorm. Then again, maybe not.
Yeah, he does have a Lion's Eye Diamond, as we can see, but if he's missing one of the pieces of the combo, then he needs to actually have one of these blue cantrips resolved, so he can actually find the rest of the cards he needs.
It's funny. The only reason I would know all those things about Carpet of Flowers, Adam Prozac. That's the only reason that I would know that, because I've watched his stream a couple of times while he's been playing Storm and 4-0ing some DEs. He loves that card in his sideboard of his Storm deck, and it is a very good card against a strategy just like this. Yeah, it makes so much mana. Alright, so Fabiano just attacks and passes the turn back, and this is exactly what he wants to do, which belabors your point, Matthias, of he's got Geist of St. Traft in his hand. No, just can't cast it.
I mean, yeah, and I think that's one of those situations where you're kind of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have boarded in this card. There's not really an opportunity to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a situation where he's going to learn from his mistake, but it's game 3, so it's, he knows now that he can't deploy it. It's kind of a dead card in his hand. Maybe he can remove from Force of Will, as Rill's going to add simply blue mana from the Carpet of Flowers. You can only add one color.
Right.
He's going to remove one of those blue mana that's floating for a brainstorm. Does Fabiano have another red elemental blast to maybe counter this?
Yeah, what Carpet of Flowers does really well in this matchup is when Gerard has hate that's, Spell Pierce or Daze, it suddenly really turns off those cards. Suddenly Eric has a lot of mana. So now it's about not how much mana it has, it's about countering the cards he has.
So Fabiano's going to cast a brainstorm in response to Rill's brainstorm. One thing that's important here, though, is that he is casting a brainstorm on Rill's turn, not his own. So make that spell count 2 instead of just 1.
All right, so Fabiano, remember, it's about 4 turns left of Delver hits. Depending on whether or not Fabiano's kept in Lightning Bolts, he might be able to decrease that number to 3 turns, but he's going to have to navigate that many more turns right now. And it looks like, actually, I believe he does have a Lightning Bolt here. I think it's getting put back. He doesn't really need to draw the Lightning Bolt until that turn. He wants to win with it, so there's no point in it being in his hand until he gets Rill down to 2 off the Delver of Secrets. And we'll check for a second, see what he's looking for. Right now, we're still having a brainstorm from Gerard. I think right now what's being difficult for him is there's kind of a lack of information going on. Gerard doesn't really know what kind of hate he needs to deal with Eric's hand right now, because he doesn't know what kind of kill Eric's going for. Eric could just be, I think Eric's trying to establish a mana advantage. If he gets enough mana, a lot of different paths that Gerard has really kind of don't work anymore. Basically Spell Piercing doesn't work. Solar doesn't work, Dazing doesn't work. It all becomes about hard counters. It becomes, even to a certain point, Fluster Storming doesn't work.
So he's going to Force of Will this brainstorm. Gerard's fighting over the cantrips instead of the rituals and the big spells like Ad Nauseam, maybe Infernal Tutor. How do you like this line? I
like it. Carpet of Flowers is adding a lot of mana, so I don't think he can really fight over rituals. I think he's conceding the mana, because it's a plan. He's conceding all the mana to Eric. He's kind of just daring Eric to naturally draw the combo, which can be pretty hard for the deck.
2 cards left in Fabiano's hand. Rill doing some math. This is terrifying if you're on the other side from a storm. Do I have enough? Can I play around Spell Pierce? Can I play around Flusterstorm? Here's a Flooded Strand. That's Rill's land for the turn.
Alright.
Can he keep going?
Well, we know Rill, I think he has 1, maybe even 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds. I think the plan that Gerard's using might be working here. I don't think, you know, Rill has a lot of mana, but it doesn't look like he has anything else.
Alright, draw a card. For Fabiano, in for 3 again. Rill down to 8. It could be a 3-turn clock.
Remember, there's only a couple cards that matter in Ad Nauseam, a couple cards that actually do anything. The deck gets a million cantrips, it gets a million rituals. It really only needs to resolve one of these cards.
Yep.
These cards being, you know, an Infernal Tutor. A Discipline of Passion Flames would probably be pretty good. An Ad Nauseam. And none of, you know, it's going to have to actually hit one of those. And it uses a lot of cards to find that, but Eric has to resolve one. Or draw one.
See a question there about Carpet of Flowers. It is a trigger, Fabiano, just making sure that Rill is using it correctly. Again, something that Rill can very easily do here is just say, all right, I'll go to main phase 2, add it then. Yeah. He has that option. That's one of the fun things about Carpet of Flowers.
Right. And what we also have here is, I believe it's a stifle-proof trigger, as it only makes, no, it actually can, it still can be stifled.
Yep.
Because
it's a trigger that goes on.
A trigger that goes on the stack,
yep.
Yeah. It's still a triggered ability. I believe stifle, yeah. So it's not technically, yeah, according to this, it's not technically a mana ability, so it can be stifled.
Can we get a more confusing card, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the problems with it is that, like, the card doesn't actually work as written, so you kind of, you have to know the oracle behind the card, so you have to play with it a fair amount.
So Fabiano's going to stifle a trigger on the Carpet of Flowers. He's being very aggressive with his effects instead of trying to be incredibly reactive with all of them. He's using Force of Will, Stifle, and some other cards proactively, as Rill's going to play a Flooded Strand.
I'm a little confused about that stifle, not because it's a play that you can't do, but because it's kind of off the game plan that Gerard was doing earlier. You know, he was choosing not to fight over mana earlier, but right now he is fighting over mana. It seems like 8 is a number that he may be worried of. Like there's a certain quantity of mana he's trying to keep Eric Rill off of.
Okay.
You know, otherwise he'd hold on to the stifle to try to stifle, well, you know, something else. Like maybe stifle a storm trigger at some point. Even stifle a fetch land, say if Eric cast a brainstorm.
Alright, it looks like systems are a go here. Lion's Eye Diamond gets cast. I think and Rill's math on his end, I think he's trying to figure out how much mana he needs to be able to push a card through a Flusterstorm. I think that's what he's trying to figure out. As Fabiano's going to untap and draw. For him, it starts again with the Insectile Aberration, and for 3, going to knock Rill down to 5. 2-turn clock.
Right. And it was possible, I believe we saw a lightning bolt at some point. I believe Gerard put it back on top of his deck. I do not recall whether he shuffled it away or whether he's kept it, but he could have that, you know, at the end, sneak 1 turn off Rill's clock in this situation, if he has one.
An interesting thing as well is that for Carpet of Flowers, it triggers on both main phases. So Rill's initial Carpet of Flowers on his first main phase, Fabiano stifles it. If Rill goes to a second main phase that says Carpet of Flowers trigger, he could have resolved it.
Exactly.
So maybe he missed that in his equation there, maybe not. Not entirely sure.
I mean, it doesn't seem like mana's really the choke for Rill right now, though. I think you're right that it's possible he had missed it. However, you know, I'm not sure he has anything to spend his mana on based on how he's playing.
I agree with you that mana isn't the choke, but what I think that Rill knows that Fabiano has Flusterstorm at least in his hand potentially. Well, he knows it's in the deck. It may or may not be in the hand. And so he wants to generate enough mana via Carpet of Flowers, his lands, and Lion's Eye Diamond, and rituals, and heck, even a Lotus Petal, that he can actually pay for Flusterstorm. Right. I think that's what he's trying to do right now. Yeah,
so he wants to try to play for Flusterstorm. Remember, he has to go for the Infernal Tutor kill because of the damage that Delver of Secrets has done. You know, Ad Nauseam, no longer a card. Hasn't been for a while.
So now we see Infernal Tutor, Lion's Eye Diamond on the stack. He's going to break that. Rill has to discard his card, which he doesn't want to do.
Right, he can either get another copy of that card that's in his hand, or he can Demonic Tutor. We'll see which one he chooses. Usually it's the Demonic Tutor, but it could be a really nice card. We'll actually see.
Just trying to figure out what color to bust it for, I think. So he discards an Inferno Tutor. His last card's an Inferno Tutor. He's moving in. He realizes that it's the last turn that he can go.
So this is the 3. So we leave. He has. So he made Carpet of Flowers mana. He had 3 mana.
Yep.
That mana was used, I believe, to cast the Infernal Tutor.
Yep.
And so right now he still has 3 blue mana, it turns out, that he made off Lion's Eye Diamond. So we have the Infernal Tutor resolving, and we'll see where he goes with it.
So it's 3 blue, 1 black. That is what's floating right now for Mr. Rill. Storm count of 2.
So Eric probably can't pay for all the Flusterstorm triggers, so at some point during this combo, he's going to have to duress away Flusterstorm or try to do something like that. Even then, Gerard will make that be an expensive proposition, but he's going to want to try to do it sooner rather than later because, the Flusterstorm will become more expensive. Every spell he plays, before he tries to duress the Flusterstorm, he's running the risk that Gerard will just kind of value Flusterstorm that spell to make it so that Eric will have to suddenly burn out more of his mana than he wants to.
So here's the question. What does he search for? What does he get with the Demonic Tutor?
It's a good question here.
Now, I don't know what he can get.
What does he know of in Gerard's hand? I think would be the first question we go on.
Well, some things may have changed because of some manipulation and stuff like that. So he's got an idea of what's in Gerard's deck because of deck lists. And he can probably believe that there's a Flusterstorm from earlier, but can he beat Flusterstorm?
Flusterstorm's difficult for him to beat. I guess we'll see. We'll see the line he chooses to go with here. I don't know if there's one right away that gets him out of that can get him the entire way. Usually your single card combo is getting ad nauseum, but like I said, he's at 2 low of a life total to do that right now.
That's not an option. He can't do what he did last game, which is spike an ad nauseum and go off that way. And he brought a Past in Flames to the front. Yeah,
typically you get a Past in Flames here. The bigger problem is that there's no rituals in his graveyard, so he actually will start to run himself out of mana if he gets this Past in Flames. Even so, though, he's going to have to find a card that can really do a lot of work by itself. And Past in Flames is probably the only card capable of that.
Decisions, a very, very important one.
Yeah, the Storm, what he could sometimes, there are other things that are available. He can try to Tendrils for a small amount to buy himself time to find another Tendrils, but I don't really think the Storm's high enough for him to do something like that.
And interesting too, because one of the cards that he brought to the front there was an Abrupt Decay, and that's what he's going to go get.
All right, so I think he knows that he can't combo here. What he's going to have to do is kill Delver.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him get this, but I think I'm with you. He has to.
It's hard to say he can't win from this position because I think the more accurate thing to say when watching is like, I can't think of a way for him to win from this position.
Yep.
And that's like the honest statement that you have to make when you're playing decks like this.
Yep. So Rill generates a lot of mana, plays a Lion's Eye Diamond, breaks it, Infernal Tutor, Hellbent, able to Demonic Tutor. Fabiano going to draw his card. All of that was for just simply an Abrupt Decay. In we go. Abrupt Decay, take care of your Delver Secrets. For Fabiano, you got to be ecstatic.
You can't counter it, that's fine. But the one question, he may take this turn to play the card which said wasn't a card in this matchup. He may just play Geist of St. Tract.
Yep.
I'm pretty fine playing Geist against a completely blind top deck.
He's not going to do that though. Maybe he has a Vendilion Click. Yep, we're in the draw step.
Oh my, that's better
huge.
than Geist.
Yeah, that's huge.
And
Looted Delta.
Nope, you can keep that one.
That is huge.
Eric with no place, and he says, all right, passes back the turn.
Fabiano attacks with the Vendilion Click, Lightning Bolt finishes it off, and Gerard Fabiano is going on to the finals. Eric Rill, very game, very, very good ad nauseum Tendrils player, but Gerard, Blue, White, Red Delver Blade, has not lost this weekend. Playing Legacy, he's moving on.
He's 11-0-1 right now in this Legacy Open.
Playing against Death and Taxes, Jonathan, you're up, my man. Can you do it again? Can you prove Matthias wrong?
I mean, yeah, it has great matchups. I mean, to be fair, the blue white Delver Blade deck actually also hasn't lost. You know, I said between Eric Smith and Gerard Fabiano, the two people who've been playing it, said they're 18 wins, 2 draws with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like immovable irresistible force meets immovable object.
Yeah.
You know, Death and Taxes has no bad matchups. Delver Blade doesn't lose to anything. I don't know. I don't know.